Hello again, children. Hello again. Okay, today I don't like it this big. It's just I don't even like it that big. Okay, today we're going to talk about perspective, point of view, how sometimes how we see things determines how we perceive things determines on the point of view of which we're reading something or viewing it, understanding it. Again, this is why point of view is one of your vocabulary words. So we're going to go into whatever folder I have it under for the week and whatever day I have it under for whatever. We're going to start by watching a brain pop video about point of view. We'll be talking about, again, different points of view. And we're talking about first person, second person, third person. Especially when we talk about third person, we also talk about things like third person limited and third person omniscient and third person objective, things like that. Then, I hit the wrong button. Then we're going to play a little Jeopardy together in class. Again, we'll click on this link. If you're absent, you can play this on your own, see how you understand point of view and perspective. Then finally, you guys will get a hard worksheet in class. For those of you that are absent on this day, and if you might be absent for a while, I'm going to wait to create an online Cami assignment for this yet until I know who's absent, because I can't just create it online without creating it for everyone. Then it's you know it's kind of like a jumbled mess, like a candy jar on Halloween. So we'll go into this file thing. The first thing we're going to do is let's look at this. Let's go and look at the worksheet itself. What I want you guys to do before we go there, because I tried to look at YouTube for someone who would read this video, but it doesn't have specifically the way I want it read. So I got to read this to you. I got to work harder than I want to. Okay. Anyway, you guys are going to make an inference about the character's attitude and flip. To support thinking, include textual evidence about what the characters say and do. So we're going to say, like, I know Bryce thinks Julie is. Think of an adjective that we would think Bryce would describe Julie as. Because he says, and you guys are going to say, look for textual evidence about what Bryce says to help you on this. I know that Julie thinks Bryce is, again, blank. Think of an adjective because she says, what does she say? And then the point of view worksheet you guys are going to do here is you're going to use evidence from the text to show differences in Bryce's and Julie's perspective about an incident and how each character responded. So here in this little spot, I want you guys to write, the incident that happened, a couple incidents. What was Bryce's point of view and what was Julie's point of view to that incident? And then response. How did Bryce respond to the incident versus how did Julie respond to the incident? Because then in the worksheet you guys are going to do, which that's what this is, and you guys are going to have a hard copy. Again, if you guys are absent, you're going to be absent for a while, I can make a Cami document for you. But if not, you guys are going to have this document. I want you to think of two incidences in your life. And on my notes, I want you to write incident number 1 and then do incident number 2. What is something that happened in your life that you saw one incident one way and whoever you write saw the incident a different way? Again, this is something that you could use, again, for your autobiographical narrative. Maybe it's an incident that changed your life you could do. So that's what this is going to be your final product after we're done with the story. So I wanted to just show you guys that. But now I'm going to go into this assignment. And I'm going to read this story to you. We're not going to worry about any of the before reading. We're not going to worry about any of the predicting. We're just going to go into the story. Wendelin Van Dronen started writing for adults but discovered that she much preferred writing for children. She's had much success with her Sammy Keys mystery series, several of which have won the Edgar Allan Poe Award for Best Children's Mystery. She lives with her family in California. Again, I think you guys know the thing that Poe's most famous for. There's a football team after me, children. It's because I was born in that city. Okay. All right. Let's read this. This is where, again, you guys will be logged into your computers and you guys are going to follow along to the text of me reading this to you. I'll make this a little bigger for you guys to be able to see the text a little easier. What is this? Oh, that is freaky. Why does that do that? I don't know. Okay, I'm trying to make this to where my bumbus head isn't so big, but the text is bigger. Hold on, I gotta maybe fix this a bit. Hold on. Uh-oh, uh-oh. I think somebody made a poopy. Let's see, hold on. Let me click out of this real quick. Okay, there I am. Okay, I want to make me smaller, but I want to make the story bigger. All right, let's try this again. See if somebody can't make a poopy. That's much better. Flipped by Wendelin Van Dronen. From the chapter Diving Under. That's too big, and my bumbus head's in the way. Close enough. All I ever wanted is for Julie Baker to leave me alone, for her to back off. Just give me some space. It all started the summer before second grade when our moving van pulled in the neighborhood. And since we're now about done with the 8th grade, that, my friend, makes more than a half decade of strategic avoidance and social discomfort. She didn't just barge into my life. She barged and shoved her way into my life. Did we invite her to go into our moving van and start climbing all of her boxes? No. But that's exactly what she did, taking over and showing off like only Julie Baker can. My dad tried to stop her. Hey, he says as she's catapulting herself on board. What are you doing? You're getting mud everywhere. So true, too. Her shoes were like caked with the stuff. She didn't hop out, though. Instead, she planted her rear on the floor and started pushing a big box with her feet. Don't you want some help? She glanced my way. It sure looks like you need it. I didn't like the implication, and even though my dad had been tossing me the same sort of look all week, I could tell he didn't like this girl either. Hey, don't do that, he warned her. There's some really valuable things in that box. Oh, well, how about this one? She scoots over to a box labeled Lennox and looks my way again. Should we push it together? No. No, my dad says, then pulls her up by the arm. Why don't you run along home? Your mother's probably wondering where you are. This was the beginning of my soon-to-become acute awareness of the girl that cannot take a hint of any kind. Does she zip on home like a kid should when they've been invited to leave? No. She says, oh, my mom knows where I am. She said it was fine. Then she pointed across the street and says, we just live right over there. My father looks to where she's pointing and mutters, oh, boy. Then she looks at me and winks as she says, Bryce, isn't it time for you to go inside and help your mother? I knew right off that this was, he, not she. I don't know what I'm doing. I knew right off that this was a ditch play, and I didn't think about it until later. But ditch wasn't a play I'd run with my dad before. Face it, Pulling a ditch is not something discussed with dads. It's like against parental law to tell your kids it's okay to ditch someone, no matter how annoying or muddy they might be. But there she was, but there he was, putting the play in motion, and man, he didn't have to wink twice. I smiled and said, "Sure thing," then jumped off the lift gate and headed for my new front door. I heard her coming after me, but I couldn't believe it. Maybe it just sounded like she was chasing me. Maybe she is really going the other way. But before I got up the nerve to look, she blasted right past me, I grabbing my arm and yanking me along. This was too much. I planted myself and was about to tell her to get lost when the weirdest thing happened. I was making this big windmill motion to break away from her, but somehow on the downswing, my hand wound up tangling with hers. I couldn't believe it. There I was, holding the mud monkey's hand. I tried to shake her off, but she just clamped on tight and yanked me along. "Come on!" My mom came out of the house and immediately got the world's sappiest look on her face. "Well, hello," she says to Julie. "Hi." I'm still trying to pull free, but the girl's got me in a death grip. "That's hyperbole." My mom's grinning, looking at our hands and my fierce red face. Fiery, sorry. "And what's your name, honey?" "Juliana Baker. I live right over there," she says, pointing her unoccupied hand. "Well, I see you've met my son," she says, still grinning away. "Uh-huh." Finally, I break free and do the only manly thing available when you're 7 years old. I dive behind my mother. Mom put her arm around me and says, "Bryce, honey, why don't you show Juliana around the house?" I flash her help and warning signals with every part of my body, but she's not receiving. She then shakes me off and says, "Go on." Julie would have trampled right in if mother hadn't noticed her shoes and told her to take them off. And after those were off, my mother told tongue twister. My mom told her to take her dirty socks. Had to go too. Julie wasn't embarrassed, not a bit. She just peeled them off and left them in a crusty heap on our porch. I didn't give her a tour. I locked myself in the bathroom instead, and after about 10 minutes of yelling back at her that no, I wasn't coming out anytime soon, things got quiet out in the hall. Another 10 minutes went by before I got the nerve to peek out the door. No Julie. I snuck out and looked around, and yes, she was gone. Not a very sophisticated ditch, but hey, I was only 7. My troubles were far from over, though. Every day she came back over and over again. "Can Bryce play?" I could hear her asking from my hiding place behind the couch. "Is he ready yet?" One time she even cut across the yard to look through my window. I spotted her in the nick of time and dove under the bed. But man, right there tells you everything you need to know about Julie Baker. She's got no concept of personal space, no respect for privacy. The world is her playground, and watch out below. Julie Baker's on the slide. So now we're going to read this story from the perspective, from the point of view of Juliana Baker and how she sees an incident different than Bryce Losky does. The first day I met Bryce Losky, I flipped. Honestly, one look at him and I became a lunatic. "That's hyperbole again, and a metaphor." It's his eyes, something in his eyes. They're blue, and framed in the blackness of his lashes, they're dazzling, absolutely breathtaking. It's been over 6 years now, and I learned long ago to hide my feelings. But oh, those first days. No, that doesn't mean you're excused. It just means I'm at school on a day when no kids are here, and the bell still rings. "Nevermore, nevermore." 2 weeks before the second grade is when it first started, although the anticipation began weeks before. Ever since my mother had told me that there had been a family with a boy my age moving into the new house right across the street. Soccer camp had ended, and I'd been so bored because there was nobody, absolutely nobody in the neighborhood to play with. Oh, there were kids, but every one of them was old. That was dandy for my brothers, but what it left me was home alone. My mother was there, but she had better things to do than to kick a soccer ball around, so she said anyway. At the time, I didn't think there was anything better than kicking a soccer ball around, especially not the likes of laundry or dishes or vacuuming. But my mother didn't agree. And the danger of being home alone with her was that she'd recruit me to help her wash dishes or dust or vacuum. And she wouldn't tolerate the dribbling of a soccer ball around the house as I moved from chore to chore. To play it safe, I waited outside for weeks just in case the new neighbors moved in early. Literally, it was weeks. That's how you use literally correct, children. If she'd waited out for weeks and didn't say the word literally, that would be hyperbole. I entertained myself by playing soccer with our dog, Champ. Mostly he just blocked because a dog can't exactly kick and score. But once in a while he'd dribble with his nose. The scent of a ball must overwhelm a dog, though, because Champ would eventually try to chomp it and then lose the ball to me. When the Loskys' moving van finally arrived, everybody in my family was happy. Little Juliana was finally going to have a playmate. My mother, being the truly sensible adult that she is, made me wait for more than an hour before going over to meet him. Give them a chance to stretch their legs, Juliana, she said. They want some time to adjust. She would even let me watch from the yard. I know, sweetheart, somehow the ball will wind up in their yard and you'll just have to go retrieve it. So I watched from the window, and every few minutes I'd ask, now? And she'd say, give them a little while longer, would you? Then the phone rang, and the minute I was sure she was good and preoccupied, I tugged on her sleeve and asked, now? And she nodded and whispered, okay, but take it easy. I'll be over there in a minute. I was too excited not to charge across the street, but I did try very hard to be civilized once I got in the moving van. I stood outside looking for a record breaking length of time, which was hard because there he was. About halfway back, my new sure to be best friend, Bryce Losky. Bryce wasn't really doing much of anything. He was more hanging back, watching his father move boxes onto a liftgate. I remember feeling sorry for Mr. Losky because he looked worn out moving the boxes all by himself. I also remember that he and Bryce were wearing matching turquoise polos, which I thought was really cute, really nice. When I couldn't stand any longer, I called hi into the van, which made Bryce jump, and then, quick as a cricket, he started pushing a box like he had been working all along. I could tell from the way Bryce was acting so guilty that he was supposed to be moving boxes, but he was sick of it. He had probably been moving things for days. It was easy to see that he needed a rest. He needed some juice, something. It was also easy to see that Mr. Losky wasn't about to let him quit. He was going to keep moving boxes around until he collapsed, and then Bryce might be dead. Hyperbole? Dead before he'd had a chance to move in. The tragedy of it catapulted me into the moving van. I had to help. I had to save him. Personification. When I got into his side to help him shove a box forward, the poor boy was so exhausted that he just moved aside and let me take over. Mr. Losky didn't want me to help, but at least I saved Bryce. I'd been in the moving van all of 3 minutes when his dad sent him off to help his mother unpack things inside the house. I chased Bryce up the walkway, and that's when everything changed. You see, I caught up to him, grabbed him by the arm, trying to stop him so maybe we could play a little bit before he got trapped inside the house. And the next thing I know, he's holding my hand, looking right into my eyes. My heart stopped. Hyperbole? It just stopped beating. For the first time in my life, I had that feeling, like the world is moving all around you, all beneath you, all inside you, and you're floating in midair. A lot of hyperbole. And the only thing keeping you from drifting away is the other person's eyes. They're connected to yours by some invisible physical force. Sounds like Yoda. And they hold fast while the rest of the world swirls and twirls. Rhyme. And falls completely away. Hyperbole. I almost got my first kiss that day, I'm sure of it. But then his mother came out of the front door, and he was so embarrassed that his cheeks turned completely red. And the next thing you know, he's hiding in the bathroom. I was waiting for his sister to come out. I was waiting for him to come out when his sister Lynetta saw me in the hallway. She seemed big and mature to me, and since she wanted to know what's going on, I told her a little bit about it. I shouldn't have, though, because she wiggled the bathroom doorknob and started teasing Bryce something fierce. "Hey, baby brother," she called through the door. "There's a hot chick out here waiting for you. What's the matter? Afraid she's got cooties?" It was so embarrassing. I yanked on her arm and told her to stop, but she wouldn't. So finally, I just left. I found my mother outside talking to Mrs. Losky. Mom had given her the most beautiful lemon bundt cake that was supposed to be for our dessert that night. The powdered sugar looked so soft and white. The cake was still warm, sending sweet lemon smells into the air. My mom was watering. Not your mom, you idiot. Learn how to read. Yeah, learn how to read, Mr. Shornack. My mouth was watering just looking at it. But it was in Mrs. Losky's hands, and I knew there was no getting it back. All I could do was try and eat up the smells while I listened to the two of them discuss grocery stores and the weather forecast. After Mom and I went home, it was very strange. I hadn't gotten to play with Bryce at all. All I knew is that his eyes were dizzying blue, and that he had a sister who was not to be trusted, and that he almost kissed me. So now we're going to go back, and again, we're going to do these adjective and textual supports for how Bryce feels about Julie and how Julie feels about Bryce. Then we're going to talk about the incident. What was the incident? Bryce's point of view and Julie's point of view, which I think we can write in our worksheet was the incident was holding each other's hand. We can say what was Bryce's point of view to holding each other's hands, which was what was Julie's point of view from them holding hands. And then how did Bryce respond to it? And then how did Julie respond to it? So then I want you guys to think of two incidences that have happened in your life. What did you say? And what did that person say? And then think of another incident. It might be a different person. So instead of like saying mom says, dad says, brother says, sister says, teacher says, friend says, you can say maybe somebody different says here. Think of how you guys have a differing perspective. So that's what we're going to do on this assignment. As always, Pirates is, if you have any questions, please message me on Schoolology. Thank you very much, and have a super sparkly day. Nevermore, children. Nevermore.